This is Kerrigan and Company. Why have a job when you can have a purpose? When you work for the Northeast Arc, you're joining a team dedicated to creating inclusive communities for people with disabilities. As an organization that supports more than 10,000 people each year, it's easy to find a role that fits your skills and passion. Become part of an organization that's been named one of the best employers in Massachusetts. Visit nearc.org/careers now to view job opportunities and apply. That's nearc.org/careers. We're high kicking into society on this episode of Kerrigan and Company.
Kerrigan and Company is here for you. Yes, Kerrigan and Company is here for you.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Kerrigan and Company. So good to have you along today. Actually, without a co-host today, but that's okay because we've got three fantastic guests that I know you're going to really enjoy. We're going to kick things up with one guest, and we're going to talk about high society with another. But our first guest today, I'm so excited to chat with because we're going to talk about the Winter Olympics, of course, which are starting later this week and will run for the next couple of weeks. And New England is always well represented in the Winter Olympics, but what's really great is that right here in Boston, we're represented a lot of times at the skating rink. And I'm going to explain to you exactly what I'm talking about. Joining me now is the CEO and Executive Director of the Skate Club of Boston. And this is Doug Zeghype. And it's so good to see you.
Same. Thank you for having me.
You bet. I'm really not exaggerating when I say in the Winter Olympics, we are represented at the rink every year, and most often it is the skating club that's being represented.
Yeah, we're fortunate. We have a long history of representation on the international scene with figure skaters who train here in Boston and at the club, and the Olympics is no exception.
Well, Doug, tell me why that's the case. Why is the Boston Skating Club, so renowned?
Well, I think we have a long history. We're 115 years old. We were founded the same year as the Boston Red Sox, so there's a lot of
there you go
in the community. I think, and a lot of legacy. And with Olympic champions Dick Button and Tenley Albright, who, by the way, is celebrating her 70th anniversary win of the gold medal in Cortina 70 years ago, this Olympics, and she's already on her way over. But also, the skating club built a new facility in Norwood, a $68 million state-of-the-art training facility. And we're now attracting skaters from around the country and even from around the world. One of the skaters competing and representing Estonia trains here with us in Boston.
Wow. So tell me how this whole thing works. I've always been fascinated by this. Clearly, I do not have ice skating in my past. So do they come here looking at the facility? Do you go out to recruit great talent? And do they come with a coach? How does it all work?
They generally come and they look at two things. And the primary thing is always going to be the coach. Yeah. And then secondary is what is the facility and what are the resources? And if they're moving here from around the country or from overseas, it's also what support can I have in housing and transportation to be able to make it work. Mm-hmm. So there's a role for both the coaching and the skating club to play in that.
Wow. How do you guys do that? I mean, where do you house these young people?
Well, we work, sometimes it's our members who have extra room in their own homes and will take on boarders. Sometimes it's other folks in the community who actually have apartments and short-term rentals. So we have a little bit of a network that we assist with. Sometimes other skaters who are here are looking for a roommate, and there's a network within the athlete community for that.
Yeah. Doug, did they come for a short period of time? Could they be there for a couple of years? What are these skaters looking for when they get here?
Well, we've had skaters actually that are representing the U.S. and the club at the Olympics right now. The pair team, Emily Chan and Spencer Howe, relocated here from Texas with their coaches. They've been here for 5 years. Wow. Max Nomoff, his parents, who unfortunately passed away in the plane crash last year, but he and his parents moved here in 2017 to train. So those are on the longer side for kids. We also have kids who develop and grassroots here. For somebody like Sasha from Savelko, who's from Estonia, he'll be here he's been here for the past year. And depending on whether he stays in for another cycle, he'd be with us for another 4 years. Mm-hmm. So they're really making the really dedicated ones, they're making a long-term commitment with their coach and with their skating community.
Sure, absolutely. Boy, we are so lucky to have that right here in Boston. What do you guys look for in a young athlete? How do you know if you've got an athlete, I guess is what I'm trying to say, a young athlete that maybe is going to be incredibly successful on an international stage?
I think there's two components to it. One, this is a sport that is performed best when you have some natural talent, right? It's such a difficult sport of both athletic ability and presentation to make it look so easy that you have to have a natural component and talent for this. But really, the ones who make it to the Olympics have more than that. And they have the attitude and the approach and the drive. Yeah. I've seen a lot of kids with just an abundance of talent that you can't imagine not representing the U.S. at the Olympics. And they don't make it because it almost came too easily for them. And then there's kids from our organization and skating clubs from around the country and around the world who may not have as much talent, but man, do they have the drive and the will to be there. And that makes all the difference. Ideally, you have both.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's a tough balance. And that's why there's just so few of them, right? That's why they are champions. Let's talk about Max. The world, of course, held its breath a little more than a year ago when the terrible accident happened just over the skies in Washington, D.C. And Max flew home earlier than his parents did. And I know that, I don't know Max, but I know that the stories are that he stepped away from the ice for a bit after it happened. For natural reasons, I would assume, but then realized that he needed to get back on the ice. Did you think a year ago that he would be where he is now?
Literally a year ago, I and others in our leadership team, we did not know what Max would choose to do. I think we all had a good sense of what we would choose for him. Most of us being older and having more life experience and knowing, when you go for the Olympics, you don't have a long, runway or a big window to do it. And this really would be his, likely last opportunity to do it. I think we did have a sense he would do it, that he just needed some time and to think and obviously to process his grief, which I know he's still doing, and maybe for many, many years to come. Mm-hmm. But I think Max has a true love for the sport. Without a doubt, he is somebody who has that natural talent and that work ethic. Yeah. And I think through his time away, he really realized and remembered why he was doing the sport and the commitment that he and his parents had together. They really were a threesome when it came to his training.
Was he destined for the Olympics, a year and a half ago? Did you think that's where he would end up, or did something come out of this tragedy that pushed him just that much further?
I think that is the case. Max is a 3-time fourth place finisher at the U.S. Championships and always just right off the podium. So he always had the talent. He always had the work ethic. But I think this past year had him re-engage with the sport with just a renewed perspective and reason why he was doing it. And, that thing you can't just put your finger on. Mm-hmm. But I do think it's made the difference.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're all very excited to see him skate, certainly.
Oh, he's a wonderful skater.
Yeah, it's just a very exciting, and it's such a wonderful, it's a wonderful story for sure. Not a wonderful story. It's a wonderful thing that has come out of a terrible tragedy. And let me ask you about that, Doug. How is the skating community here in Boston a year later?
I think having this anniversary of the crash last week, last Thursday, was a cathartic moment for a lot of folks. You got to see that there still was a lot of unresolved, if you will, or lingering emotion. Mm-hmm. Folks are still feeling this. I think the kids have rededicated themselves to their skating. A lot of them have just said that. They realize how fleeting the opportunity to skate can be. And I think they've channeled this into renewed purpose, which is really, really good to see. I mean, we did have a few kids who took from Vadim and Jenya just so discouraged and disillusioned that they, some left to skate elsewhere and some just, I think, left the sport. But the far majority have stayed, have worked with new coaches, and rededicated themselves. So you see a lot of healing going on. I think adults, we have more resources and experience with which to process and manage
Sure.
this sort of loss. But I think the club community is going to feel it for a while to come.
Well, something you said a year ago that I thought was so interesting. You pointed out that this was not the first time that the club had fallen to tragedy. Back in 1961,
Right.
there was also an accident that took so many lives associated with this club. And you said it took a long, long time for that healing. Are we facing that same kind of thing this time around, or are they just coping a little better, or people knowing how to cope better?
I think that's an excellent point. I think folks do know how to cope better. I think folks talk about things more. There's more external support. It's accepted and acknowledged and encouraged that you don't have to deal with something like this alone. So I think on a personal level and for our community, I think we're going to do much better through it. And as grievous and horrendous as this accident was in 61, it took so many more lives of coaches, 3 national champions. It took the lives of coaches and skaters who were fully developed and already representing the United States at the World Championships and the Olympic Championships. So their loss, there was an immediate loss, but they were also the future of the sport here in Boston. They were the future coaches. I think this organization, the Skating Club of Boston, and the sport in the Boston area has really taken these, 50 plus years to fully recover. And you're seeing a reemergence of Boston as a global center for skating training.
So, Doug, let's talk about something a little more upbeat. Let's talk about the fact that not only do we have Max, and you mentioned a little bit earlier, but not only is Max going to the Olympics, but we've got a pair going to the Olympics from here as well.
We do. Emily Chan and Spencer Howe, who have their own unique story of dedication and determination, facing injuries and time off the ice, including last year where Spencer was in the Army doing basic training because he had joined their world-class athlete program. And it was almost unheard of for somebody to break training 3 or 4 months leading into that year preceding the Olympics. And I say it's just a tribute to them. They did not have the best skate of their lives at the U.S. Championships in the short program, but they came back in the second component, the free skate, and skated well enough to make the team. And what I want to say for anybody who's watching the Olympics, this is a team that is easily one of the best in the world when you look at what they're capable of and just how beautiful a pair team they are on the ice. They're definitely worth making the time to watch and see.
Well, I'm so glad that you just said that because I was going to ask you about some predictions. You think this is a beautiful team, and will they medal? Will we see them, you think, on the podium?
I don't know if they'll medal. U.S. pair teams are generally not as strong as the international teams. That is changing. But I definitely think they'll be top 10, which would be an amazing finish for them. And would I say they're fully capable of top 5? Absolutely.
Oh, that's so great. And then let's go to Max. Obviously a story that will be told over and over again during the course of these Olympics. He will be the darling, I think, for so many because so many will be pulling for him. What do you think his capabilities and his chances might be?
I think when I look at the quality of Max's skating and his technical ability, he's fully capable of being on the podium. Will that happen? I'm not sure. Again, I mean, it's pretty widely accepted that the U.S. men's champion, Ilya Malinin, will be the champion. His technical merit is so far and above and beyond, anyone in the world that he could miss 3 elements and still have enough points to score. But Max's technical ability, along with his literal skating ability and presentation, I expect to see him in the top 10. It will all come down to the quality of his skating. And what everybody does in the moment there. But if somebody else who's already at the top of the international scene opens the door for Max, Maxwell stepped through it, and he proved that like he just did at the U.S. Championships.
That's so great. That's so great. Well, I have to tell you, it's an exciting time. Everyone loves to watch the Olympics, which, of course, begin this coming Friday. And I know that our skating teams are going to be on the ice very quickly thereafter this first weekend. So it's a great time to watch figure skating. And as I said, Massachusetts really well represented, so it's great. Doug, thank you for all you do for these young athletes, and what a wonderful place, and a continued success there.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been great talking to you.
It's been great to chat with you, too, and go USA, right?
Go USA. It's going to be a fun one.
You bet. All right. Thanks, Doug, very much. Everybody stay with us. Lots more coming your way right here on Kerrigan & Company. Do you need to buy new technology? Let AGI Beacon help you buy better tech for less. The team at AGI Beacon understands technology from the inside out. AGI Beacon provides expert guidance to help businesses navigate complex technology decisions with clarity. With AI transforming business operations at an unprecedented pace, having the right advisory partner is no longer an option. Go to agibeacon.com today to learn how they can help you with all your technology needs. That's agibeacon.com. This segment of Kerrigan & Company is brought to you by Lucia Lighting and Design, where people in the know go for the best possible lighting and design experience. Welcome back, everybody, to Kerrigan & Company. It's so good to have you with us. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Doug. So exciting. We, have the potential to really see some gold medals, or at least some medals, come this direction when it comes to figure skating in this year's Olympics. So we will certainly all be rooting for them. And he shared with us some information about how you could get up close and personal with some of these Olympic champions after the Olympics are over, and we're going to share that in our social media. So very exciting, and something to really look forward to. I'm looking forward to this next interview. This is someone who came to our attention, I don't know, a while ago, and my producer, Dave, kind of chased down her people so that we could get her here to speak to us. We are so excited to have many titles: author, activist, artist, and she is the first African American to be a Rockette. That's right, a Rockette. It's so good to have with us Jennifer Jones. Great to see you.
Thank you, and thank you for having me on your show today.
Absolutely. You have a list of achievements, ma'am. That is for sure. And we want to talk about your book and how exciting that is. But we, of course, cannot pass up being the first African American Rockette. You became a Rockette in 1987. And I love the story. I have gone back and I've read it, and I want you to share it with my listeners here because it's such a great one. You wanted to be on stage. You wanted to be on Broadway. And you read in the back of a magazine something about tryouts, right?
Yes, I was studying at Broadway Dance Center at 19 years old. There was a publication that came out every Thursday called The Backstage, and it had a list of all auditions of Broadway, off-Broadway, music videos. And I was looking for my big Broadway break, and the Rockette audition was in there, and I blew by it. And my friend said, Jennifer, you should really go to the Rockette audition. You would make a perfect Rockette. I said, I don't know. That morning of the audition, I woke up and I decided to go. Very green in the business, very nervous and intimidated at auditions. I went to become better. I arrived at the music hall at 10 o'clock, and it was draped with the most beautiful ladies I had ever seen. They knew how to do their makeup, their hair. They knew the right leotard to wear for the audition. And I got at the back of the line and I said, they are never going to pick me. And I didn't see another black dancer on the line. And I thought about leaving numerous times, thinking if I leave right now, I can make my favorite jazz class, Frank Hatchett. And just as I was about to step off the line, my inner voice pushed me back into the line and said, stay. And I stayed. And if I did not stay on the audition line, I never would have made it to the Rockette line.
Sure. There were some 200 plus women auditioning for 26 spots, right? Is that?
Yes, that is correct.
Right. And I read that you did not bring a headshot and you did not bring your tap shoes.
Correct.
You were a little green, it does sound like. But they said, we'd like you to come back for a callback. And so this time you went back maybe a little more prepared, right? And time went by, and ultimately you made the line. And did you know at the time, Jennifer, that you were the first African American?
When they called me to hire me for Super Bowl 22 halftime show, they did not let me know at that point that I would be the first Black woman to dance on the line. I actually learned about it on the 11 o'clock news when a local news anchor came on and said Radio City has just hired their first Black dancer. And I kind of wondered who that was, but since they never said anything. It wasn't until a few days later that Radio City did tell me, and they threw me into media training. But it would take years for me to actually learn the Rockette history.
Yeah. And talk a little bit about the Rockette history, because they had existed for a long time before choosing you.
Absolutely. Russell Market founded the Rockettes in 1925 in St. Louis, Missouri. And his idea came based off the British Tiller Girls. And he thought that if he can get an American kick line with ladies with long legs doing intricate tap steps and doing eye-high kicks at the end, that he would knock the American people's socks off. So his vision was to have a number of dancers doing all the same movements, looking like one dancer. In 1925, Black performers were not allowed to dance on stage as white performers. That's, just the way it was. But that's why we have so many beautiful Black dance companies now, like Dance Theater of Harlem and Alvin Ailey. But you would think, under the backdrop of New York City, in 1987, that Radio City would have hired a Black dancer. It was the heavy knock of the NCP and Hazel N. Dukes saying you are not an equal opportunity employer. And I think under that pressure and that weight, that they felt that they needed to hire a Black dancer. And Russell had passed the line down to Violet Holmes, who was a dancer on the line. And Russell was still alive, and there was still that antiquated thought process about having, as Violet was quoted in the New York Times in the early 1980s, saying having one or two Black dancers on the line would distract from the uniformity of the Rockettes, which is their hallmark. But they felt the weight, and I feel like they needed to make a change and add a Black woman.
How were you accepted?
With great change comes great resistance. There was resistance from some ladies on the line. There was resistance from some people in the organization. But then there were people who were ready to have, an integrated line. And I really leaned into those ladies who wanted me to become the best Rockette possible, who taught me the Rockette terminology, the language, how to do the precise eye-high kicks. And for me, as a child, knowing that every single cell in my body wanting to dance on a great stage and walking out of a backstage door, that I was in the right place and no one was allowed to take that dream away from me.
Jennifer, did you know at the time that you were making history and that you were opening doors?
At 20 years old, I did not know the weight of what I was doing and opening the doors for other Black women to call themselves Radio City Rockettes. Like I said, there were people in the organization who were very resistant. And there was actually a PR director who really put a mindset in me that she pulled me aside from right before my Super Bowl 22 halftime show. And she told me that nobody cares about me, nobody cares about my story, and that I'm lucky to be there. And her being in PR, I believed her. I thought nobody cared. And I thought I was old news. And I carried that around for years. It would take decades for me to really unravel, peel back the layers of that onion and realize what I did.
My goodness. I know you said that when you got there, they weren't prepared in any way. The makeup was not the proper makeup, that the hosiery was not the proper color, and that you even had, things as simplistic as that, which would be things that helped you do your job, you still had to fight.
Yes, and absolutely correct. They were not prepared of having like the same skin tone tights or the body for the leotards. So and I detail all of this in my book, Becoming Spectacular, about some of the adversities that I've had and the challenges that I went through, and some of the screaming matches that were done to me, just for me voicing that, I'm different and we need to make some changes. And it would take years for Radio City to do that.
Yeah. How long was it before the next Black woman was hired?
I'm part of the Rockette of Color alumni, and we believe that it was 4 or 5 years before the next Black woman was hired.
Mm-hmm. And you were on the line for 15 years.
Yes.
Oh, it had to have been a great 15 years.
I loved being a Rockette and dancing on the iconic stage and doing the Macy's Day Parade and so many other shows. One of my favorite shows was Comic Relief with Whoopi Goldberg, Robin Williams, and Billy Crystal. I also performed with Anne Margaret. So there were so many wonderful, magical moments.
Yeah, that is so great. For me, I just can't, I'm not a dancer, but when I even go to see the Rockettes now, the precision is what it's all about, which is so amazing. I would have been a nervous wreck. Did you eventually get over that? Where, you don't want to be the one who raises your right hand when the left was supposed to be up.
Absolutely. And that was part of the Super Bowl 22 halftime show. Most of the ladies had danced together for years. So when I came into learning the 2 numbers that we were performing, not only was I learning precision dancing, which I had never done before, learning the terminology, I was also dancing on a great stage, a football stadium, as well as being televised. So it was a lot of hard work when I was not in the rehearsal hall. My kitchen at home became my studio. So it was a lot of hard work. But again, it was something that I wanted since I was a little girl, and I was so happy to be there.
That's so terrific. You went on to be on a Broadway stage as well. You were in the revival of 42nd Street.
Yes.
And that had to have been terrific.
Yes. I got my Broadway dream of being on Broadway 2nd Street, the revival, in which we won the Tony in 2001 for Best Revival of a Musical. Yeah. And what I love about that is what we opened for the Tony Awards that year. And the Tony Awards were being held at Radio City Music Hall. So I got to dance at the Music Hall as a Broadway performer and win the Tony for Best Revival of a Musical.
Wow, good for you. That's living the dream, right? Literally.
Full circle.
Let's talk about the book, Becoming Spectacular. What does it mean to become spectacular?
I think every single person in this world is becoming spectacular. We are all honing in and defining our gift. We all have our special footprint and legacy to leave on this world. And we are all just like diamonds coming out. And each challenge that comes around is making us shine bright and showing our gift to the world. So we are all becoming spectacular and shining our gift. So I hope everybody keeps shining on.
Absolutely. So tell everybody just a little bit more about the book itself.
Not only do I describe my Rockette journey as a first, I talk about my life after being a dancer, being a single mom, transitioning out of the dance world and how difficult that was. And I also talk about my battle with colorectal cancer.
Yes. So let's chat about that if we could for just a moment. You were diagnosed how long ago?
I was diagnosed at the age of 50 after a routine colonoscopy with stage 3 colorectal cancer. Coming out of my colonoscopy, my doctor came to me and said, I have cancer and I have 5 years to live.
Right. And you said, no, you're wrong.
Yes. After searching for the right doctor, which everyone needs to advocate for themselves if they are not happy with their healthcare team, to find one that listens to your questions, that will sit down and take the time to talk with you about your diagnosis. I went to Memorial Sloan Kettering in New York City, met by an almost all-female team. That was half of my healing. I did 8 rounds of chemotherapy. I had surgery at the end of 2018, and then in 2019, I was deemed cancer-free.
Yes. And now you advocate. You go out. Tell me, what is it that you tell people about that journey and that experience?
Colorectal cancer is being found in younger and younger adults, and researchers don't know why.
Yeah.
It is so important that we listen to our bodies, and if something feels off, if something doesn't feel right, it is important to go to your doctor. And because it's being found in younger adults, sometimes they won't prescribe a colonoscopy. I would urge them to really advocate to get one.
Yeah.
And always take a caregiver with you. Sometimes we miss things when we are in the middle of a situation.
Yeah.
Sometimes other people can hear some things that we may miss. So it's very important to listen to our bodies and take someone with you.
Absolutely. Well, I have to tell you something. You are an inspiration on so many levels. It started obviously when you were very young and you were brave and you took that step without tap shoes. And you turned out to be spectacular on that stage. And obviously you've gone on to do other spectacular things. Thank you, Jennifer Jones, so much for coming on and being a part of Kerrigan & Company. This has been a real treat.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
You too. Take care. Have a great 2026.
You too.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Stay with us. This is Kerrigan & Company. If you need a new look for lighting in your home, you need to go to Lucia Lighting and Design. The spectacular 10,000 square foot showroom inside a mansion in Lynn, Massachusetts is decorated with both architectural and decorative lighting in every style. From crystal and traditional to contemporary and modern, the selection is unmatched. Whenever I'm looking for new lighting, I head right to Lucia Lighting and Design. When I'm not sure what I'm looking for, I rely on the expert guidance of Lucia Lighting and Design's team. I know they can help me, and I know they can help you too. Learn more and book your appointment today at lucialighting.com.
If you like rum, you're going to love Rumson's Rum, New England's most award-winning rum brand. Rumson creates distinctive and savory flavor profiles by hand-selecting and marrying the finest barrel-aged Caribbean rums. The spirits are then blended and finished in the New England Rum House. Choose from Rumson's Gold, Spiced, Grand Reserve, or Coffee Rum. Find Rumson's at liquor stores or ask for it at your favorite restaurant. Learn more at rumsons.com. That's rumsons.com. Rumsons. Life lived, life enjoyed.
This segment of Kerrigan & Company is brought to you by the North Shore Music Theater, which has just announced its spectacular 2026 season. Learn more at nsmt.org. Welcome back, everybody, to Kerrigan & Company. Our next guest is actually here in the studio with me, which is really great. She is an author from the Boston area, and she has a new book out. The name of the book is The Society. I'm going to hold that up so that you can see it. Just released last month, and this wonderful book is doing very well. It's written by Karen Wynn, and Karen is here in the studio with me. Great to see you.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
For having me. Thank you.
Is this your first book?
It's my second book.
It's your second,
yes.
right. But this is your first one to sort of really get out there like this one, right?
I think so. It's doing really well.
Exactly.
There's definitely a different energy with this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So great. We're going to talk about it here in just one second. But first, let's talk about you. From here, you're actually from Jersey, but have lived here in the Boston area for some 20 years.
Yeah, just about.
And this is career number 2 for you.
It is.
You are actually a nurse by trade.
Yes, exactly.
And worked here in the Boston area over at Mass General, right?
I did.
Yeah. What kind of nurse? Where were you?
I was. I floated around in different types of nursing, but at Mass General, I worked in the SICU, the surgical ICU.
Right. And how long were you there?
I was there for a few years, and then I went to get my nurse practitioner degree. So I'm actually a nurse practitioner as well.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Good for you.
But I haven't been doing patient clinical care in a while. I do some healthcare consultant work now.
Well, and you're a little bit busy writing books.
A little.
I'm curious, when you were nursing more, were you writing books in your head?
Always. Yeah.
I'm always so fascinated. I say this every time we have an author on, but it's because I am fascinated by authors because I think everybody sort of has a different technique, but I think that you're just all brilliant because you write in your head.
Or crazy.
Well, maybe that too. Yeah, a little bit. But now, let me ask you, this is the other question I ask authors all the time.
Sure.
Do you have an ending before you start?
So yes and no.
Okay.
I know roughly where the book is going, or some piece of it, whether it's a pivotal scene at the end or one of the characters, how I eventually know how their story will end. But there's some wiggle room there. And
Sure.
I think, as you write, that's the magic where the characters kind of take over, and hijack the story a little.
Sure, absolutely.
So, yeah.
Well, The Society is really awesome. It's a thriller. It's based, it's taking place essentially on Beacon Hill. So it's really cool because if you're reading it, there's a lot of references to things that people around here certainly would know.
Yeah.
And you're writing it from firsthand experience there on Beacon Hill, which is great. It's about a woman. I'm not going to tell too much of it, but it's about a woman who is an antiquer, and she gets involved in a secret society up on Beacon Hill. And then there's a second woman and she disappears, and there's a second woman who begins the search for her.
Yes.
Where did that come from?
Well, a couple of things. So
Okay.
I live in Beacon Hill, and I have 2 kids, and walking those streets every day and bringing my kids to the bus stop, and it's my neighborhood. I was very drawn to the atmosphere of Beacon Hill. It's mysterious, it's charming, and it just, to me, seemed like the perfect backdrop for a secret society.
Sure.
I had worked as a nurse, and while I was working as an ICU nurse, I was really struck by how the patients that came to us, unlike other types of nursing I had previously done, like wasn't really directly communicating with them because they were often intubated, critically ill. So we were relying on loved ones to kind of tell us and fill in the blanks about the patients we were taking care of. And it struck me because I used to think these patients are so much more than this, right? They're more than this hospital, more than this bed, and who are they on the outside?
Sure.
So there was a little bit of tapping into that in terms of the 2 characters, because the antiques dealer ends up in the ER. And that's where my other protagonist encounters her while she's working as the ER nurse. But then also, I often write at the Boston Athenaeum. And one day I took a tour there and learned about how one of the major benefactors to the Boston Athenaeum had amassed a large portion of his fortune in the opium trade. And it sort of got my creative wheels going. And so I thought, what if I had the secret society whose roots dated back to the 1800s? Like, it's a present day story, but there has to be a reason why this secret society exists. So what if it was historically formed as a way for these wealthy Brahmin families, a lot of whom apparently did make their money in the opium trade, as it was formed as a physical place for these families to meet and discuss their international dealings.
Absolutely.
So that was the story.
And that's where it started. I think the concept of secret societies, which, by the way, they do exist in, and I know on a lot of college campuses. I actually was a member of a secret society when I was in college.
As was I.
I know you were. I was tapped into one. And it is mysterious and really not, but it is, right? Exactly. But I think that the concept of taking it off of a college campus and taking it into a real live situation makes it just that much more fascinating. And I think that really makes the book exciting.
Thank you.
Yeah, it really, really does. Tell me about feedback. What are people saying about the book?
I've had great feedback. I think I've almost been surprised, to be honest, about the feedback. I shouldn't have doubted, right? Boston strong, right? But people are just really enjoying it, particularly in in Massachusetts.
You have a great writing style, so I can understand
you.
why they're
Thank
enjoying
you.
it as well, beyond the fact that it is, about locations. I think people love to read things that they can relate to, because you then, I know as I was reading through it, and I was reading it online, but as I was reading through it, I could see where, I was in locations, and I think I like
you.
that. I like that kind of thing. So,
Thank you.
is there another book?
Yes. So actually, my next solo project, I'm working on a book with 2 other authors right now, which is a little bit different. But my next solo project is going to center on one of the characters who makes an appearance in the society. So Nicholas, who is a bookstore owner of this bookstore in downtown Crossing called Turn Pages,
Yes.
he is actually the focus of my next book. And I've been living with his story for years. I actually wrote a short story about him years ago that lives on my computer and in my brain, but I am finally ready to tell his story. So.
Okay, now hold on. You just said that. Okay, so does he talk to you in your head?
He just lives with me.
He just lives with you. Yeah.
Yeah, his story. It's like it's there because I've told it, right? It was a short story that I wrote, and it was never published. I tried to get it published, and it was unsuccessful. But I wasn't done with it. So he, and I think I've finally grown enough as a writer that I can successfully take that short story and translate it to a novel form.
Sure, and tell the rest of his story.
Exactly.
Is he based, and are these characters sometimes based, you sort of explained with society because of your background as a nurse and some of the things that you've learned through touring and history here in Boston. But let's take him, for example. Is he someone you know?
He's not someone I know. He is someone, and I'm still like fleshing out his entire story, but essentially with his story, my father had passed away about 16 years ago, and to me, my father was like the smartest person there was. And when he passed away, I just thought, oh my gosh, where does all that knowledge go, right? Like, it's just gone. And so for me, this short story that I wrote about Nick, he's this bookstore owner and essentially like collects knowledge, right? And that was the genesis for that story. So that was the starting point, and that's how he was born.
Yeah, so he's very special to you because he
Yeah.
does relate to your dad and that kind
Yeah.
of thing. You just mentioned that you are writing with other authors. What's that? What is that experience like?
Oh, it's been so fun. So I'm in this, I met these 2 other authors in this Facebook group for debut authors back with our first novels. And we have just met monthly on Zoom. One of them I've never even met in person because she lives in Canada. The other one lives in California. I did have a chance to meet her once. But we have these monthly Zooms and for years now. And at some point, we thought, we should write a book. And we were kicking around this kind of fun idea. And it lo and behold, it's a dark comedy.
Yes.
And it's super fun. And it's been the perfect thing to write leading up to the Society launch because we've been working on it now for about 9 months because it's funny and it's dark, but it's funny and it's just been a fun process because I get to write my piece and then send it to them, and then it comes back to me with like words already written.
Yeah, right.
Which is so fun.
So that's I can't picture exactly how authors collaborate.
Yeah.
So do you share your ideas? Is someone actually the writer? How does that
Yeah.
work?
Well, the 3 of us we were figuring it out as we went along, but we did come up with a good system. So we really hashed out the story, like much more so when you asked me, do I know the ending? This
Right.
one we really hashed out.
Yeah.
But there was still some wiggle room there. But we hashed it out, and then we kind of outlined it, and then we took turns. So one of us will have it for roughly 2 to 3 weeks, and then pass it to the next person who edits, and then they write, and then and then we all read, and then we get together every maybe 2 weeks or so to have the Zoom, and we just keep it going that way.
Wow,
It's been
that's
great.
cool. That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so glad that we had this chance to talk about that because I had no idea how writers
I
collaborate.
mean, I don't
like
know
that.
if that's what other writers do.
Yeah, but that's how it works for
yes,
you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Who are some of your favorite writers?
Oh my gosh. I have so many. I love Emily St. John Mandel, Taylor Jenkins Reid, Hank Philippi Ryan, Ellen Hilderbrand. The list goes on.
Yeah. So you're a voracious reader.
Yes.
Have you been that way all your life?
Yes, absolutely.
So when you went to nursing school, did you think in the back of your mind, I'm going to be a writer, but I'll just do this because mom and dad want to make sure I have a job? Was that sort of what was going on there?
Yes and no. My late father, who I had mentioned, he was a Hungarian immigrant, and the idea of being a writer wasn't going to cut it.
Right.
But I actually really liked nursing. I had torn my ACL when I was in high school, and working with a physical therapist exposed me to the idea of working in healthcare. And I used to volunteer at the hospital, and my friend's mom was a nurse, so she would take me behind the scenes, and I was very interested in it.
Sure.
And I just I knew that I'd be able to do both, essentially, right? Anyone can write, right? You have a piece of paper, a pen, you have a computer, you can write. It was about the self-discipline and keeping that going. So
not anyone can write. I don't think that's actually true, Karen. I think you're giving people a big swath of leeway there. I think you can write. I guess we can all write something, but to write it well and be interesting to other people, I think is a little more challenging.
Practice.
Yeah, I should say. So we have the book about the book store owner coming.
Yes.
Do you hope to just keep going with other spin-offs, maybe, if you will?
I don't know.
You don't know?
That's what I know that
Yeah.
I'm writing next, and we'll see.
Great.
Yeah.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Well, the book is terrific. Tell everybody that is listening,
Sure.
and tell me too, where you can get the book.
You can buy it. I think all the local bookstores are carrying it, which is wonderful. And then you can also buy it online through Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Target, really essentially anywhere books are sold.
Sure, absolutely. And are you making appearances with it?
I am, yeah.
That's so
yeah,
great. Will there
yeah.
be any here close by at any point?
Yes. I am at Rosy Bound Books this coming Saturday. On my website, I have all of my
There you go.
appearances
That's
listed.
the answer right
Yeah.
there. So it's Karen Wynn.
Author. KarenWynnAuthor.com.
Very good. Very good. Terrific book. Congratulations.
Thank you
So
so
glad you
much.
could come
Thank
and
you
be
for
a part of the show.
having me.
Really, really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Remember, everybody, KarenWynnAuthor.com. Check it out. Find out where Karen's going to be here locally, and be sure you get out and get the book. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll wrap things up. This is Kerrigan and Company. Love is in the air at Sienna Aesthetics Medical Spa in Beverly. For the month of February, the folks at Sienna are loving their customers by offering 10% off of services and products. And when you combine the two, you get 15% off. And don't forget, the spa is now offering brow lamination and henna tinting, as well as micro shading and lash extensions. Make an appointment with Jen for any of these fabulous services and get 10% off in February. Remember, Sienna Aesthetics Spa, where love is in the air. Go to siennaesthetics.com. This segment of Kerrigan and Company is brought to you by Sienna Aesthetics Medical Spa. Take years off your face with the very latest technologies at Sienna Aesthetics in Beverly. That's going to do it for this edition of Kerrigan and Company. So glad that you could be a part of today's show. And listen, we really appreciate your support. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. The podcast is growing each and every week, and it's all because of those of you who follow us on social media and subscribe over on YouTube. So thank you very much. Quick reminder, the Society is available right now. You can go to KarenWynnAuthor.com, or you can check it out. I'm sure you can grab this at Amazon or in any local bookstore. Really a great book, a lot of fun. Be sure that you check that out. And of course, the Olympics starting this coming weekend. We've got three skaters from the Boston Club. So be sure you throw your support behind all of them. We're going to be back next week. Thank you all very much. Thanks everybody for listening to Kerrigan and Company. To find out who will keep me company and be my co-host on the next episode, be sure you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, and TikTok. Kerrigan and Company is recorded at the Big Night Studios at the TD Garden in Boston. You can view the podcast on YouTube and listen to it wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure you tell a friend. The executive producer of Kerrigan and Company is David Thompson, and our social media managers are Grace Kerrigan, Colby Thompson, and Riley Thompson. See you next time.